Welcome to the channel. I'm Stacy, and my goal here is to help you to play better and sound better in your worship services. Today I'm going to break down the tones I had set up for this past Sunday. I'm going to go over the basics of my HX Stomp preset, as well as the pedals I used on my board, and how I navigated those snapshots and presets throughout my service. Before we get into it, I'll be using this guitar, which I used on Sunday. This is an 09, I believe, 58 historic reissue, Les Paul custom, and it sounds absolutely amazing. It was gifted to me last week. I received this guitar. My friend Greg received another gorgeous guitar different than this. And one of our worship pastors, Jordan, was given an acoustic guitar equally as gorgeous. I don't deserve it, but I am committed to putting it to work and just enjoying every minute of it. So in the spirit of a vintage-esque Les Paul, I thought what better setup to use on the Stomp than a couple of Marshalls, and so I did. I've got a Plexi on one side and a JTM 45 on the other, but we'll go through that in a minute when we go over that preset. But I want to go over real quick how it sounds on its own, and then with the compressor, with the ODR-1, which I used for a good crunch tone. I didn't use the carbon since they're Marshall amps, and the carbon's a Marshall kind of clone. Unless I wanted to just boost the volume of what I already had, or just juice those amps, which I didn't. I wanted to kind of tighten it up a little bit, and the ODR-1 did that for me. So the carbon got a weekend off, and then I did kick on the soul food for a bit of a lift on the end of praise. All right, let's get into real quick what that amp sounds like. All right, so on the HX Stomp, the signal chain is I've got two of the same effect. So right off the bat, I use the analog chorus on the vibe setting for the chorus part and a couple of other parts on the song Praise, where it's got a warbly effect. To my ear, that nails it. And so I knew I was going to use that one. And then I also wanted to use a chorus for Mighty Name of Jesus. I covered the rhythm parts on this one this week, and so I wanted chorus with it. And I went through a handful of different ones, and I ended up landing on the same. So I know there's a way to control those parameters with the MIDI controller, but I didn't really have time to figure that out on the spot. So I just put it in there two different times with two different settings, and it got me through my Sunday. So the signal chain is analog chorus, and then I have the effects loop with my Jet Eternity and Revelation covering my delay and reverb. Then we're going into those two amps, the Plexi on the left. I use the normal channel, and I've got the drive on that one set at 4. And then I have the JTM 45 on the right, and I have the drive on that one set at 6. It's not as gainy of an amp, so I have room for that. And also, because I had that cranked to 6, that's why I had to push the level on the ODR-1. So think of the amp, the more you juice it, kind of the more you have to do to it to get it to do something different. And so I had to send more level and a little bit more gain from the ODR-1 into the amps to get them to do what I wanted them to do, just to tighten up and give me that palm muted crunch. I have them both mic'd up with the 4x12 V30 cab, one with the Dynamic 7, one with the Dynamic 57. And then I have the last block on the chain as a simple EQ to bump the Holy mid-range. And just with the way those amps are, I didn't need any more low gain bump or high gain bump. So the songs we did this week were Praise, Mighty Name of Jesus, King of Kings, and Good Grace. And I covered the lead, the high parts for Praise and for King of Kings. And then I covered the chords, the rhythm parts for Mighty Name of Jesus, and Good Grace. And they're all those parts I got to play were a blast. So just real quick, let's get into Praise. So I'm using a Kedem 6 MIDI controller. Has 100 banks in it. It's got 6 switches that you can have instant access to for press, double press, long double press. So, you know, on the face, each preset has like 24 different messages you could send at any given time. I'm literally sending 5 messages. So I use one switch to send to the pedals which algorithm I want to use, what I want to do with the toggle. And then I've got the bottom 3 row is telling it how much mix, how much decay for each. And then my top left switch, which is A, that's the one I use for mash. It's kind of just an exaggerated swell. So that's that. And then I've got it set up to bank up and down. Just if I hit the 2 right buttons, it banks up. The 2 left buttons, it banks down. I've got one button set up just for a tap in case something were to happen and we either didn't use a click and I wanted to still have that for a delay, or if something happened and they changed it and I didn't know they changed it and had to hurry up and adjust it on the fly. That doesn't happen, but just in case. So for Praise, I used a few presets or snapshots. So Snapshot 1 is what I used for the first verse and kind of just chunking on my C note there on the low string, 8th fret. So for that one, I had the ODR-1 on the whole time for that whole song. It just tightened things up for what I wanted. And then when I kick on that analog chorus with the vibe setting, it does a little bit of thing where it kind of cleans it up. So, and then the way I'm playing also, it's not overdriven and grindy. So that's Snapshot 1. Snapshot 2 brings on that analog chorus. Real quick, Snapshot 1. It's a short decay, just giving that palm mute a little bit of space, but not too much. Snapshot 2. And Snapshot 3 comes into play at the end of the bridge, right before that last big chorus section, and it has 100% wet mix on the reverb. And I do have a mash set up on this one, but I don't use it, so we don't need to go over that. But just real quick, I'll play through a few parts of the song. This is Snapshot 1, I'll do Snapshot 2, and then Snapshot 3 into Snapshot 2. I love it. All right, and so for the next one was Mighty Name of Jesus. I kicked on the chorus, and we come in right away, sounding like this. I also didn't kick on the ODR-1 until I think we were in the bridge, and I did it just to kind of build that moment a bit bigger. But in general, I sounded like this, Snapshot 1. Snapshot 2. Snapshot 2 is what I used for my rhythm part. The delay repeat on Snapshot 1 is what I have set up for when I play lead on that one. Snapshot 3. And I don't think I used the mash on this one either. I think I kind of hung out on Snapshots 2 and 3. And so coming in on that song with just the amps, no pedals except the compressor. So I guess There's a pedal, it's the compressor, and then that chorus on the HX Stomp. I think I swelled on that first verse section, and I might have used the mash. So if I did, and you were interested in how that sounded, it's like this. Kind of runs for a while. That's a fun song to play, either part. I love the lead line on that one. I love the rhythm. All right, and then next we did King of Kings. I covered the higher notes on that, and coming in on that one right away, I came in on that mash. That sounds like this. And I had the middle position, so both volumes cranked, and then on the middle. And then I hung out on Snapshot 2 quite a bit. It just gave me a little bit of, for the parts I played, a little bit of a cloud to kind of rest in. And then Snapshot 3, I used that one for some rakes. So the way I played the song would have played out like this. No chorus. And then there was one of the next verse section. It gets a little bit squirrely. So I went to the neck pickup. I kept it on Snapshot 2. I liked the cloud that gave me to kind of play in. And then we had this line to play. So I guess I used the rat too. I just had forgot about that in the beginning of the video. So that was King of Kings. And then the last one that we did was Good Grace. And I had the ODR-1 on, and I just rolled my volume back. I can see the 4 and the 5 right here. That's about where I had it. And I think I swelled in on this, on the what do you call it? The mash tone. Sound like this. And then I hung out a lot on Snapshot 1, I think. Might have been 2. Nope, it was 1. Here's Snapshot 2. Just a little bit more than Snapshot 1 and Snapshot 3. So the swell part would have been like this. Let's see. Yeah, hanging out back there. Coming out of that, we're in a chorus, and I would have dropped either to Snapshot 1 or 2, depending on how much of the, ambient effects I was hearing in my mix. And I don't remember if I turned this up, but if I didn't, here's what that would have sounded like. And if I did turn it up, it would have been like this. And then for the, there's a chorus that I did a walk and also the bridge. I roll the volume back for that and kind of do an arpeggio, a little bit of a Jesus Culture throwback on this part, but it was like this. So those are the tones I had set up for this past Sunday. Just the HX Stomp doing the heavy lifting with the amps and cabs as well as modulation. Pedal board covering my drive section and wet effects, and then that MIDI controller making sure that I have the right tones at the right times to get me through my worship service. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, subscribe and hit that like button for good measure. Let me know in the comments if there's any songs that you'd like to see me cover in this format. I can set them up, run through all the snapshots and the gain staging and how all that stuff is set up. Hopefully that could be helpful to you. Let me know in the comments. If you need song-specific resources, you'll find them at links in the description box below. There are a handful of downloads free for you in there as well. All right, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.